What's going on, guys? Kevin the Tech Ninja here, and today we're doing a comparison between the Pixel 8 and the iPhone 15. The way I do phone comparisons, I don't talk about specs too much unless it directly affects the way I use the phone, but I talk about my experience as using the phone. Now I understand this is very subjective because this is my experience, but I also try to look at it from an average consumer lens. Now this is Apple's cheapest iPhone 15, and it will set you back $799. And for $799, you get 128 gigabytes of storage. And this is the Pixel 8 for $699 for 128 gigabytes of storage as well. Both phones, I do recommend upgrading to 256 gigabytes. It is $100 extra on the iPhone and $50 extra on the Pixel. So right out the gates, the Pixel is gonna be a cheaper phone, but cheaper does not mean better value. So let's talk about these two phones. I think both phones feel great in the hand. Now the Pixel screen size is a bit taller and it's actually feels like a heavier phone. Regardless, they are both built well. And I think this size and this form factor, they're pretty easy to use with one hand. Now, Apple made a big talk this year about titanium. You see ads all over the place talking about titanium. Now, I'm not gonna say this phone isn't made well, but it's not super rugged. As you can see, I have a little bit of scratches here on the back of the phones. And this is from like normal things that can nick up your phone, like in your pocket or you throw it in a bag. You know, little things here and there could definitely scratch up a phone. Now the Pixel 8 on the other hand is glass, and glass is gonna be glass, right? If I drop this phone would definitely shatter, definitely break. But right now, inherently, the way I've used the phone, this hasn't scuffed up or anything like that. Now I am seeing reports of on this actual camera bar, people are getting nicks, but in my experience, I am not running into that at all. Regardless, for both phones, I do recommend screen protectors and I do recommend cases as well. When talking about the screen, the bezels are thinner on the Pixel. And also you have a hole punch instead of this whole dynamic island. Now, I do love the dynamic island, don't get me wrong. When it's active, it is a really cool thing. But when you have nothing going on, it's just in the way. It cuts into the display. When watching content, I can't decide which screen looks better. I think the Pixel does get brighter overall, which is actually helpful when using the phone outside. But to me, when watching movies or watching shows on here, the content looks exactly the same. This screen is also a high refresh screen, so it will look smoother and feel smoother to most people. And also you have more options baked in. You can change the color. You can do a lot of different things. You can put it on extra dim. So if you're using this phone in the bedroom, not like that, maybe like that. There's a lot of features you can do on an Android device that you just can't do on an iPhone. And for people who want that control, that customization, that is very important. But when I'm factoring everything and deciding which screen is better, I think the Pixel screen is actually better. You know, this hole punch is not intrusive and the screen gets really bright. And I like the Pixel screen just a little bit better than the iPhone. So for me, when I compare the speakers, I think the iPhone speakers gets more full. The Pixel phone gets just as loud in my opinion, but the fullness makes it just sound better in my opinion. Now moving on to software, I think the Google Assistant is really great. I love having the Assistant handy to help with screen calls in real time, wait on hold for me, and even call places for me and book appointments in the future. Also, the AI in the camera system is very impressive, and we're gonna talk about the AI camera system a little bit later in the video. Also, Android allows for more customizations than iOS, whereas iOS can sort of feel a little bit stale, even though they've kind of sprinkled in a little bit things here and there. There's always that feeling of this walled garden. I will say for me, gaming on iOS is actually better. They have more games. Also, what's happening is that Apple is buying exclusive titles only for Apple Arcade. So for example, the new NBA 2K is only gonna be available on iOS now. It's not gonna be available on Android. And the way that they have it set up is that NBA 2K, once you have it, it's gonna work for your iPhone, your Mac, and also your Apple TV, and it does synchronize all together. And also Assassin's Creed, the new one is gonna be coming out on iOS as well, and it won't be available on Android. So we gotta talk about these cameras, right? The Pixel is definitely known for its camera system. That is what Pixel's bread and butter is, it's that camera. And the iPhone has been known to have a sure and steady camera. It may not be the best camera around, but but it has been very good for a long time, and its video mode is top of the game. But the Pixel actually upgraded its video mode as well, and this year's iPhone actually became a better camera, higher megapixel. Both cameras do possess a 2-lens setup, but the cool thing is they all have 3 focal lengths due to the high megapixel count. So both these cameras actually have 3 lenses if you want to make it very simple. It is interesting to compare these two phones to each other, camera, still shots, and video. So let's move on to video. You know, the Pixel has made huge improvements, and I do want to give Google credit for that. Now, the funny thing is that in some of these shots, I actually prefer the Pixel over the iPhone. The Pixel has an overall cooler color profile and at times can be softer, which can look better for video, where the iPhone can look overly sharp and overprocessed at times. When doing a max zoom shot, sadly, the Pixel looks unrecognizable, especially when you compare it to the iPhone. I do like the Pixel in this shot, which retains the shadows towards the bottom left. But then this next shot, which makes my jeans completely a different color for whatever reason. And you can actually see that it's adjusting the brightness and white balance on the fly, and it's very shocking compared to when a different phone does it. And this next shot, it made everything very blue. Pixel has made a lot of changes this year with their camera. Now, video boost is something that's going to be only on the Pro version, and that's not available just yet. But is video boost needed for something like this, kind of just a normal talking heads? You know, we've seen the iPhone front-facing camera for a while now, and I don't think much has changed this year. But obviously, I want to see how it compares directly to the Pixel. That's made a lot of changes. Hello, world. It's cold. It's very cold. But you in this thing. Front-facing camera, holding these cameras on a tripod. But when looking at still shots, the iPhone does oversaturate most shots, and some people really like how that looks. It's kind of a more flattering shot, more lively shot compared to the natural tone of the Pixel. I do like the natural tone of the Pixel, and also when it comes to skin tones, I think they're more accurate, where on the iPhone, I can look a bit more reddish. I will say the iPhone does a better job with portrait cutouts. I've used the iPhone in some challenging shots over the past few months, and it's nailed the cutout nearly every single time. But both phones do a great job overall, and I'll deal with the not so perfect cutouts on the Pixel for that color and realism. Another feature Pixel users talk about is Magic Eraser, and this could then erase things out of the scenes of your images. What people don't know is that if you're paying for Google One subscription, you can actually get Magic Eraser on an iPhone too. But here's the problem. Not many people are going to be paying for the Google One subscription on the iPhone. Like, it doesn't make sense if you're paying for iCloud. So let's say in this example, we want to get rid of the park bench. We just go ahead and highlight it, and bam, the park bench is gone. And this works the same on both devices here. As you can see, the park bench is gone on both devices. Now, if we talk about battery life, they both get relatively the same. As a normal user, you can get a full day, but if you're gonna go like back out that night, you should definitely charge the phones. I'm a big user of MagSafe, and I love these wireless power banks that work on these iPhones, which can actually charge your phone wirelessly. You just kind of slap it on the back of it and you're fine. Now, the Pixel does have MagSafe as well. Like, check this out. I can put this on the back of the Pixel and I will get it to charge the exact same way, but the magnet is nowhere near as strong. Now, they do make cases that will make the magnet a little bit stronger, so then you can actually use the same MagSafe accessories, which is really cool to have on this phone. Overall, both phones are really good, and no matter which device you would get, you will be pretty happy.